In the weeks that followed, the tiny apartment became a world of its own, revolving entirely around the needs of the newborns. Vera experienced a kind of exhaustion she never knew existed. Nights and days blurred together in a circle of feeding, changing diapers, rocking crying babies, and grabbing whatever sleep she could in between. Susan had taken a short time leave from work immediately after the birth to help out. Even when she returned to her job at the boutique, she would hurry home during her lunch break to check on Vera and the twins. And she would come home right after closing up shop to relieve Vera for a bit. Despite the endless fatigue, there were moments of pure sweetness that kept Vera going. The way her son would wrap his tiny fingers around her pinky while feeding, or the soft contented sigh her daughter would make after being changed and swaddled. Susan proved to be a natural with the babies. She would sing little lullabies in Yoruba and English to calm them, or carry them two at a time, one propped on each shoulder, pacing the floor until both fall asleep. But as the initial rush of maternal protectiveness met the harsh reality of infant care, Vera found herself struggling emotionally. She was still a child in many ways herself, and now she had two other humans entirely dependent on her for survival. It was overwhelming. One afternoon, about a month after the twins' birth, Susan came home to find the apartment silent, too silent. She hurried inside, worried something might be wrong. She found Vera sitting on the edge of the bed, staring blankly at the wall. The twins were asleep in their crib. "Vera, are you okay?" Susan asked carefully. She had noticed over the past week that Vera had grown quieter, her smiles rarer. It wasn't uncommon, postpartum blues, the midwife had warned. And given all of Vera's other stresses, Susan had been keeping a close eye on her friend. Vera turned her head slowly. Her eyes were red, as if she had been crying. "They finally slept," she said in a dull voice. "After crying for 3 hours straight, I tried everything and they just wouldn't stop." Susan sat down beside her and put an arm around her shoulders. "Newborns are like that, unfortunately. Sometimes they just cry. It doesn't mean you are doing anything wrong." Vera let out a shaky sigh. "It's not just the crying. I I don't think I can handle this, Susan." Alarmed, Susan drew back to study her face. "Don't say that. You're doing great." "No, I'm not." Vera cut her off, her voice trembling. "You're doing great. You're practically carrying all of us. I'm just I'm just a burden." Tears filled her eyes. "That's not true. And you know it," Susan chatted gently. "You are their mother. You are the reason those babies are even alive and healthy. And you are not a burden to me." Vera shook her head. Tears now slipped down her cheeks. "I can't even calm my own children without your help. They cry and cry, and I feel like I'm a failure. And then I think if I hadn't been selfish and stupid, they wouldn't even be in this situation. Born to a mother who can provide for them, a father who doesn't want them, grandparents who may never acknowledge them. What kind of life did I bring them into?" Susan felt a pang in her chest. She wished she had answers that could magically make everything better, but she didn't. All she could do was offer comfort. She hugged Vera tightly. "They are alive and they have love. That's what matters right now. Babies don't need riches or a perfect life. They just need love, food, and shelter. we are giving them that. Vera cried into Susan's shoulder. But for how long? You can barely afford formula and diapers. Your paycheck is stretched thin and I have nothing. I hate being dependent on you. If something happened to you or your job, she broke off, her mind clearly spiraling into a dark what ifs. Hey, Susan said, pulling back to look Vera in the eyes. Look at me. We will figure it out, one day at a time. God has gotten us this far. The babies are healthy and growing. I still have my job, and Ada even sent some money last week because I told her a bit about the situation. You told Ada? Vera asked, eyes widening with embarrassment. I had to explain why I needed money, Susan said. Don't worry. She won't tell anyone. She was shocked, of course, but she agreed we are doing the right thing by taking care of the twins. She's going to try to send something whenever she can. Vera bit her lip, guilt crossing her face. I'm sorry you have to involve your family in my mess. Our mess, Susan corrected. I'm in this with you, all the way. And don't call the twins a mess. They are a blessing, even if they came in a difficult way. Vera managed a small, sad smile as she wiped her face. She glanced at the sleeping infant. They are a blessing, she murmured. I just wish I felt worthy of them. Sometimes I feel like, she hesitated. Feel like what? Susan prompted gently. Vera took a deep breath. Sometimes I wonder if they would be better off without me. A silence followed that statement. Susan looked at her friend in concern. What do you mean by that? Vera kept her eyes on the crib. I mean, I love them, Susan. I do. But I'm so scared of failing them. What if I end up hurting them more by trying to raise them when I have nothing? What if someone else, someone who actually has money and stability, could give them a better life? Realization dawned on Susan, and she tightened her hold on Vera's hand. Vera, if you're thinking what I suspect, please stop. You are their mother. They need you. No one will love them like you do. But Vera's mind seemed to be elsewhere. My aunt in Abuja is wealthy, she said quietly. I haven't talked to her in years, but maybe she would take them in if I begged. Or maybe even, she swallowed hard, maybe even an orphanage or one of those foreign adoption agencies. Stop it, Susan said, more forcefully than she intended. She grasped Vera by the shoulders. Don't talk like that. You are just tired and overwhelmed. I know it's unimaginably hard right now, but it will get better. You'll find a way. These children belong with you, with us. Vera broke down again, hiding her face. Susan held her, rocking gently until the storm of sobs subsided. They didn't speak further on that topic, but Susan's heart remained heavy with worry. A few days later, Susan had to work a double shift at the boutique because a co-worker fell ill. She hated to leave Vera alone for so long, but Vera insisted she would manage and urged Susan not to worry. It was a quiet day, and the babies had been relatively calm in the morning. As evening fell, rain began to patter outside. A gentle shower, quite unlike the earlier tempest during the twins' birth. Susan rushed home the moment she was done, a bad feeling nagging at her. She had tried calling during the day but got no answer. Likely, Vera was just too occupied, she told herself. When she arrived at the apartment compound, the drizzle making her shiver, she immediately noticed something was off. The door to her flat was slightly ajar. Heart pounding, Susan pushed it open. Vera, she called, stepping inside. The lights were off, but a lantern burned on the table. She saw the crib in the corner and it was empty. A cold wave of panic swept through her. No babies and no sign of Vera. The apartment was disturbingly neat. The usual clutter of baby bottles, blankets, and diapers had been tidied. The quiet was deafening. On the table next to the lantern, Susan's eyes caught a piece of paper, a note held down by a small stuffed toy. With shaking hands, she picked it up and read in Vera's handwriting. I'm sorry, I can't do it. I know you will take care of them and give them what I can't. Forgive me, Susan. For a moment, Susan just stood there, the note fluttering in her hand. She had feared this, deep down, but to see it come true was a punch to the gut. Oh God, Vera, what have you done? She whispered. She dashed out the door, eyes scanning desperately. A neighbor passing by with an umbrella paused, seeing Susan's distress. Did you see Vera? Susan asked frantically. My friend, the girl staying with me. Did you see her live with the babies? The neighbor looked confused. Ah, I saw her earlier carrying a bag, but I thought she was just going to the market. That was maybe an hour ago, before the rain started. Susan didn't wait for more. An hour. Vera had been gone an hour. Anything could have happened in that time. She ran down the lane, her mind racing. Where would Vera go? Then she remembered. Vera had no family here. She had nowhere else, unless she truly meant to abandon them to Susan. But if that were the case, why not just leave them in the apartment knowing Susan would return? Unless Vera wanted to disappear completely, ensuring no one could try to convince her to come back. The thought made Susan's blood run cold. She imagined her friend, desperate and not thinking clearly, doing something irreversible. As she reached the main road, Susan fought to stay calm and rational, thinking if Vera truly left, she might try to drop the babies somewhere she thought they would be found safely, perhaps the local church or even an orphanage. The church was a few streets over. Susan immediately turned in that direction, sprinting as fast as she could. The drizzle had eased, but puddles splashed under her feet. Out of breath, she reached the small Catholic church. It was mostly dark, only a security light on. She hurried to the front steps, calling out softly in case someone was around. No sign of anyone, no babies. She ran around to the back, where sometimes items for charity were left. Nothing. Her heart was pounding in her ears. Now, maybe the orphanage, the only one nearby, was at least a mile away. Had Vera walked that far with two infants? As Susan cycled back to the main road, she suddenly stopped. Down an alley to her left, near the large communal waste bins, she heard something, a faint cry. Her breath caught. She turned and slowly walked toward the sound. Between two tall green dumpsters, in the dim glow of a distant street lamp, she saw a bundle on the ground. The cry came again, soft, weak. Susan moved as if in a trance, her feet splashing through muddy puddles. She knelt down next to the bundle and carefully peeled back the edges of a familiar blanket. Her heart nearly burst at the sight. Two tiny faces, scrunched and red from crying. The twins. They were alive and screaming, but starting to fall quiet from exhaustion or the chill of the rainy air. Jesus, Mary and Joseph! Susan breathed, tears immediately flooding her eyes. She lifted both infants into her arms, wrapping the blankets around them tightly to warm them. They felt a bit cold, but otherwise unharmed. One of them opened his eyes, a dark trusting gaze, and let out a weak wail. The other sucked fretfully on her fist. I'm here, Susan soothed. kissing each of their foreheads despite the grim around. Auntie Susan is here. Oh, my precious babies. Relief and fury welled within her. Relief that she had found them in time, fury and disbelief that Vera had actually left them here like trash. Cradling the twins securely, Susan rose and backed out of the alley. She looked around, half expecting to see Vera lurking somewhere in remorse. But the alley was empty except for a stray cat that darted behind a bee. Then, in the distance, Susan saw a figure at the end of the road, near the bus stop. A young woman with a bag slung over her shoulder, boarding a bus. It was far and dim, but something about the figure looked like Vera. Susan's jaw clenched. She turned away. Her priority now was the babies. Chasing Vera down would mean leaving them again, and she wouldn't risk that. If Vera was truly leaving, so be it. She had made her choices. Susan held the infant close as she hurried back to the apartment, whispering soothing words. Her clothes were soaked, but she barely noticed. Back inside the safety of her home, she closed and locked the door behind her. She gently dried the babies with a soft towel and changed them into a clean ones, checking them over for any sign of illness. They seemed fine, just hungry and tired. She quickly made 2 bottles of formula with shaking hands and fed them, tears streaming down her face the whole time. They gazed up at her as they suckled, innocent and content now that their needs were met. Susan's heart swelled with love and a fierce determination. As she laid them down in their crib after feeding and rocking them to sleep, she whispered a promise. I will take care of you, David and Destiny. I will never abandon you. The names slipped out naturally. Names she had been contemplating in the back of her mind. David meaning beloved, because the boy was truly loved and precious. And Destiny for the girl, because meeting them felt like fate. Her destiny was now bound to theirs. Susan reached up and stroked the girl's soft cheek with a finger. The baby nuzzled in her sleep. Your name is Destiny, she murmured. Then she touched the boy's tiny hand, which instinctively closed around her finger. And you are David. A sense of peace settled in Susan's chest. She had named them, and in doing so, she had fully accepted the role she had already been growing into, their mother in all the ways that mattered. She found the note Vera had left and read it, anger flaring again. But as she sat by the crib, watching the twins breathe softly, that anger cooled into a resigned understanding. Vera had been broken by fear, by shame, by the weight of responsibilities she couldn't handle. Susan still felt bitterly disappointed in her friend, but she prayed that someday Vera would find peace or at least not descend into more harm. Susan penned a short reply on the back of Vera's note, in case she ever returned. Don't worry about the twins. I will give them a good life, Susan. She taped it to the front door, though deep down she doubted Vera would ever come back to read it. Perhaps it was more for Susan's own closure to have the last word. With a heavy heart, Susan realized that Vera was truly gone. The girl, who had been like a sister to her, had chosen to walk away from her own children. It was a hard truth, but it steeled Susan's resolve even more. She picked up her phone and called Ada in Port Harcourt, voice shaking as she recounted the event. Ada was shocked, but she comforted her sister and promised to come as soon as she could when she gets leave from work. Susan told her not to rush. We are okay now, she said while gazing at the sleeping infant. I have got them, and that's what matters. That night, as thunder rumbled faintly in the distance and the rain tapered off, Susan stayed up sitting on the couch, watching over David and Destiny. She didn't sleep a wink. She was grieving the loss of her friend. Yes, But she was also feeling the weight of what lay ahead. Two babies to raise, a few-time job that barely paid enough, the judgment of society if they knew the full story. It wouldn't be easy. Yet, at those tiny faces, she felt something powerful rising within her. A lioness-like protectiveness. She had saved their lives tonight, and she would dedicate the rest of hers to seeing that those lives were good, happy ones. She softly hummed a lullaby her mother used to sing. In her gentle voice, barely above a whisper, the words drifted through the quiet room. Sleep, my child, and peace attend thee all through the night. Guardian angels, God will send thee all through the night. Tears slipped from Susan's eyes as she sang, but her voice remained steady. She will be their guardian angel now, for as long as she lived. In a dark city under a cloudy sky, within a tiny apartment filled with love and sorrow, a new family was formed that night. A mother, a son, and a daughter, bound not by blood but by a promise. The sun rose over Lagos the next morning as if it were any other day, indifferent to the dramatic turn in the lives of those in the little apartment. But for Susan, David, and Destiny, it was the start of a completely new chapter. When Destiny's cries woke her just after dawn, Susan carefully lifted the baby from the crib before her wails could wake her brother. She rocked the infant gently, preparing a bottle with one hand, as she had become adept at. As Destiny fed hungrily, Susan allowed herself a small sad smile. "Good morning, my sweet girl," she whispered. "Today is a new day." In the coming weeks, a sense of routine and normalcy slowly developed. It was astonishing how quickly babies grew and how their needs, though demanding, became a natural part of Susan's day. Ada arrived 2 weeks after Vera's departure. True to her word, when she walked into the apartment and saw the little twins in their crib, her eyes filled with tears. "Oh, Susan," she murmured, hugging her older sister tightly. "They are beautiful." Ada was only in Lagos for a short visit, but she made it count. She stayed with Susan, helping with night feeds and cleaning. With Ada's encouragement and insistence, Susan took the opportunity to get a full night's rest. Ada would sleep in the living room and tend to the twins so Susan could recover from months of stress and sleep deprivation. During one of those nights, as the sisters quietly folded laundry together while the baby slept, Ada broached the subject carefully. "What will you do if Vera comes back?" Susan paused, the tiny shirt in her hands half folded. She sighed. "I honestly don't know. Part of me wants to slap her for what she did. Another part of me wants to hug her and make sure she's okay." She shook her head. "But mostly, I just focus on the twins. They are my concern now." Ada nodded slowly. "You plan to raise them permanently?" "If no one else steps in, yes," Susan said firmly. "Legally, I don't have any claim, but Vera essentially abandoned them. And the father is who knows where. My worst fear is their grandfather might suddenly want to assert his authority if he finds out I took them. But I think he's too prideful to acknowledge their existence." "He doesn't know they are alive, does he?" Ada asked. "I doubt it. Vera hasn't been in contact with her family at all from what we know. Well, I wrote to Uncle Adewale anonymously telling him Vera was safe after she came to me, but I never got any response. Maybe he didn't care, or maybe the letter never reached him." She shrugged. "Either way, nobody is looking for these children except me. So yes, I will raise them as my own." Ada reached over and squeezed Susan's hand. "You have a big heart, sister. Not many people would do what you are doing. They are lucky to have you." "We have each other," Susan smiled gently. "I'm lucky to have them too. They have given my life new purpose, even if it's not what I planned." After Ada returned to Port Harcourt, life settled into a manageable pattern. Susan hired a neighbor, an older widow named Mama Ngozi, to babysit David and Destiny during the day once they were a few months old, so she could return to her job full-time. The pay for the sitter was almost half of what Susan earned, but she cut expenses wherever possible, cooked frugal meals, and even began doing small business on the side like selling homemade chin-chin snacks at the boutique to supplement her income. As the months turned to years, the children thrived under Susan's loving care. True to her promise, she raised them no differently than if she had given birth to them herself. Their first birthday was celebrated with a simple party in the compound. The neighbors gathered, singing and clapping as David and Destiny each smashed their tiny fist into a shared cake, getting icing everywhere. Susan laughed as she wiped frosting off Destiny's nose. It was the first time in a long time she felt pure joy, untinged by the stress and sadness of the past. "Mama, Mama," little Destiny squealed, reaching for Susan with sticky hands. It had been her first word, "Mama." Much to Susan's simultaneous delight and heartache, she was Mama to them in every way that counted. But hearing that word also made her think of Vera occasionally and how fate can be so cruel and strange. When the twins were about 2, one evening, out of the blue, David called Susan "Mama" as well. Before that, he had babbled incoherently or just cried for attention, but never directly addressed her. Susan had been feeding them jollof rice, and David looked up with a big grin. Rice smelled on his face, and said it as clear as day, "Mama." Susan's heart melted. She swooped in and covered him in kisses, making him giggle. "Yes, my son, and Mama," she affirmed, tears in her eyes. Those early years were challenging but precious. There were hospital visits for childhood fevers, where Susan would stay up all night, sponging them down and whispering prayers for them to get well. There were scraped knees that she patched with kisses and plasters. There were tantrums and spilled food and broken cups, and there were countless hugs, bedtime stories, and lullabies. Not once did Vera attempt to contact Susan in those years. It was as if she had vanished. One or two mutual acquaintances who eventually got wind of what happened gossiped that they had heard Vera went abroad, but Susan never confirmed it. It was better not to dwell on Vera. For better or worse, Susan had become the only mother figure in David and Destiny's lives. The twins grew into bright, kind-hearted children. David was thoughtful and quiet, always curious about how things worked. He would take apart his toy cars and try to piece them back together. At school, he excelled in mathematics and science, always asking his teachers a million questions. Destiny, on the other hand, was bold and creative. She loved drawing and painting from the moment she could hold a crayon. The walls of their small apartment became adorned with her colorful sketches, stick figures of their little family, crayon houses and flowers, and later more elaborate drawings of the Lagos skyline with the lagoon and bridges she saw in magazines. One evening, when the twins were about 8 years old, Susan sat with them at the table, helping them with their homework by candlelight. Since the power was out again, David had a book about famous inventors open, and Destiny was sketching a house. "Mama," David said, adjusting his spectacles. He had needed glasses just that year, making him look like a tiny serious professor. "Do you know that some computers are taught to think like humans? It's called artificial intelligence. I want to build something like that one day." Susan smiled, amused at hearing such big terms from a little boy. "Is that so? You want to be a computer engineer?" "Yes, or maybe a scientist." He nodded solemnly. "I want to make things that help people, like machines that can do work faster." Destiny put down her pencil and looked up, not to be outdone by her brother. I want to build things too, Mama, but not machines. I want to build big houses and buildings, ones with beautiful designs, and I will paint the walls in pretty colors. Is that a job, Mama? Susan laughed softly, pulling Destiny's braid playfully. Yes, it is. That would make you an architect, or maybe an interior designer. You can build all the big houses you want and paint as many walls as you like. The twins shared a grin, their dreams fueling each other. David then cocked his head curiously. Mama, did my father build anything or was he an engineer? The question caught Susan off guard. It was perhaps the first time either of them had asked about their father in a direct way. She had always known the day would come, but it still made her heart skip. Destiny chimed in. Yeah, and what about our real mother? Why don't we have a papa like other kids? In school, everyone talks about their daddy and mommy. Susan gathered her thoughts. She had always been honest that she was not their biological mother. When they were toddlers, she would say, God brought you to me because your first mommy couldn't take care of you. She never wanted them to think she was hiding a secret, but she also hadn't given them the full painful details. They were too young to carry that baggage. Carefully, she answered, Your biological mother, her name is Vera. She was my friend, and she had you when she was very young, just a teenager. Your father's name is Tunde, but he left Lagos before you two were born. Why didn't our mama Vera take care of us? David asked softly. Susan felt a familiar sting of resentment on their behalf. How to explain without letting her bitterness show? She was scared and felt she couldn't raise you. So she left you in my care and I took you in. Sometimes adults make very difficult choices. It doesn't mean she didn't love you. Destiny's eyes were wide. She left because she was scared? Will she come back one day? I don't know, my love, Susan said honestly, brushing a hand over Destiny's cheek. I haven't seen her since you were babies. But what I do know is that I love you both as if you were my own, and I will never leave you. You are stuck with me, she ended with a little joke to lighten the mood. It worked. Destiny giggled and hugged her. David slid closer and wrapped his small arms around her too. We love you, Mama, he said. I love you too, Susan whispered, holding them close. So much. In truth, David and Destiny didn't bring up Vera or Tunde often after that, accepting Susan's love as more than enough. As they grew into teenagers, they introduced Susan to others as their mother, and she introduced them as her children. In every practical sense, that was the reality. By the time the twins were in SS3, their final year of secondary school, the small savings that Susan had scraped together over the years was often on her mind. She wanted to send them to university, but higher education was expensive, especially for two at once. They had good grades. Maybe a scholarship could be possible. One fateful day, their school announced an opportunity, a scholarship program run by an international foundation. The top two students in the entire school, as determined by special exams and overall performance, would get the chance to study at a university in Canada, all expenses paid. The competition was fierce. Students across Lagos were preparing for the exam that would determine the winners. David and Destiny, ever ambitious, studied day and night. Susan supported them however she could, making late-night snacks while they revised, praying for their successes, and keeping their spirits up. She dared not to dream too much of them winning, but in her heart she knew if anyone deserved it, it was her two brilliant children. The day the results were to be announced, the principal called a special assembly. Susan was invited as well, which made her heart flutter with nervous anticipation. She sat among other anxious parents in the school hall, clutching her handbag tightly. The principal, a stately woman with kind eyes, spoke on stage about the importance of education and how proud she was of all the students who participated. Then came the announcement, the top performing students. In first place, earning the scholarship of the University of Toronto in Canada. Mr. David Uchechukwu, she declared. The hall erupted in cheers. Susan gasped, tears immediately springing to her eyes. David, her little David, now lanky 17-year-old, looked utterly stunned as his classmates thumped him on the back. He walked up to the stage in a daze, adjusting his glasses, and accepted the certificate the principal handed him. And in the second place, also earning a full scholarship, Miss Destiny Uchechukwu. Now it was Destiny's turn to freeze in shock before breaking into a radiant smile. The hall rang with applause again. Destiny practically skipped to the stage, giving David an excited hug when she reached him. To laughter from the audience, Susan wept openly, not caring who saw. Both had won. It was beyond what she had prayed for. Thank you, God. Thank you, she murmured over and over. Afterwards, the twins sought her out in the crowd. They found her and enveloped her in a jubilant hug. Mama, we did it, Destiny squealed, eyes shining. I'm so proud of you, Susan cried, kissing their faces. So proud. My goodness, you two will be going to Canada. This is unbelievable. David, always the quieter one, had tears in his own eyes. We couldn't have done it without you, Mama. You sacrificed so much so we could focus on school. This is your victory too. He motioned to a man with a camera, a newspaper reporter who was covering the scholarship story, and spontaneously put Susan into a posed picture with him and Destiny. The certificate held up proudly. Susan protested. She looked a mess from crying, but the kids insisted. The cameraman smiled at the obvious love and snapped the photo. The headline in the local newspaper a week later read, Twins win scholarships abroad. Proud mother shares her joy. The story talked about David and Destiny's achievements and mentioned Susan by name as their mother. She was thankful no mention of their birth circumstances was made. The journalist likely didn't know, and it wasn't relevant to their success. Preparing for the twins' departure to Canada was a whirlwind. They needed passports, visas, warm clothing, and 100 other things. The foundation handled many logistics, but Susan spent countless evenings double-checking everything and fussing over them. I'm going to freeze into an ice block, Destiny exclaimed one day, eyeing the heavy winter coat someone from the foundation had provided. You'll be fine. Just remember to wear it, and the gloves and hat, Susan said, folding another wool sweater to pack into the suitcase. David picked up a family photo from the table, one they had taken at the beach the previous year. I'm really going to miss home, he said quietly. I've never even been on a plane. Now we are going so far. Susan paused, then went to him and put an arm around him. It's okay to be nervous, son, but this is a great opportunity, and it's not forever. After your studies, you can always come back home to visit, or even to work here if you want. Lagos will always be here. And we will video call all the time, Mama, Destiny added, coming over to hug Susan from the other side. You won't be able to get rid of us, even from across the ocean. Susan chuckled, though her heart ached at the thought of them being so far. You too, focus on your studies. Make me proud over there. That will be thanks enough. And take care of each other, alright? You are going together, so you always have family close by. We will, David promised. The day of their flight, Susan accompanied them to Murtala Mohammed International Airport. She hovered like a mother hen, making sure they had their documents and enough pocket money. At the final security gate, where she could go no further, she embraced them tightly. Study hard, behave well, and remember all the values I taught you, she said, her voice already quavering with tears she tried to hold back. And don't forget to call me as soon as you land, and every week, and at least, even every day. We won't forget, Mama, Destiny said, wiping her own tears. Thank you for everything. We'll make you so proud. You will see. You already have, Susan whispered, kissing them each on the forehead like she did when they were little. David swallowed hard, blinking behind his glasses. "I love you, Mama," he said simply. "I love you too," she replied, giving his hand a squeeze. They reluctantly pulled away, handing their boarding passes to the officer. With final waves and blunt kisses, David and Destiny walked through the gate, off towards a new horizon. Susan watched until she couldn't see them anymore. Part of her felt like her heart was walking away with them, but another brimmed with gratitude and pride. Her babies were off to achieve their dreams. That was all she had ever wanted. As she exited the airport, she whispered a prayer for their safety and success. The Lagos sun was setting in a gorgeous display of orange and pink, as if to give a hero send-off. Susan squared her shoulders and smiled. She had done it. She had raised them well. The rest was now up to them. Life alone was an adjustment. The apartment felt too quiet without the twins' chatter, and Susan often found herself instinctively cooking too much food or buying too of things out of habit. To cope with the loneliness, she poured herself into her work and side business. With no children to rush home to, she managed the boutique with such diligence that her employer took notice. Within a year, she was promoted to store manager, a role that gave her a small increase in pay. She also finally pursued a dream she had set aside. With the twins gone, she had a bit of savings and time to open a modest boutique of her own on weekends, selling traditional attire and accessories. It started as a tiny store in Yaba Market and slowly expanded. The twins, now young adults, kept their promise to keep in touch. Weekly calls were a highlight for all of them. David would excitedly share about his latest programming project or internship at a tech company. Destiny would gush about the architectural marvels she saw in Toronto and her part-time job at the art gallery. Over the years, the children visited Lagos during some summers, each time bringing new stories and gifts. They always stayed at the apartment, though as they achieved success, Susan often protested. "You can afford a hotel now. Oh, don't mind my small house." But they wouldn't hear of it. To them, it wasn't a small house, it was home. Time flew. 4 years of undergraduate study turned into additional years as David pursued a master's degree and then launched a startup. Destiny completed her architecture degree and started working for a firm, eventually also doing a master's while working. They both became permanent residents of Canada, though Nigeria remained in their hearts. One humid afternoon, while Susan was in her boutique arranging a new shipment of Ankara fabrics, she received a video call from David that nearly made her drop her phone. He was grinning ear to ear, and the background looked like an office celebration of some sort. "Mama, guess what?" he said. "You got a haircut?" she teased. His hair was shorter. He laughed. "Yes, but that's not it, Mama. My company just got a big investor. We are going to expand across Africa now. I'm going to be traveling to Nairobi soon to set up offices, and of course Lagos too. I'm bringing my business home." Susan's face lit up with pure happiness. "My son, that's amazing. Congratulations. God is good. See how far you have come." Through the screen, David's eyes were shining. "And that's not all, Mama. With the success, I finally can do something I've always dreamed of. It's for you." "For me? What is it?" he asked, curious. "It's a surprise, but I will need you to trust me and come with me somewhere when I visit next month, okay?" Susan raised an eyebrow, but agreed. "All right, my dear. You know I trust you. If you tell me to jump, I will ask, how high?" She chuckled. True to his word, David flew to Lagos a month later, Destiny accompanying him, now 25 years old. The twins were even more mature and accomplished, but still the same loving children at heart. This visit, they insisted on taking charge of things. One bright Saturday morning, they told Susan to dress nicely because they were going out for a special lunch. It wasn't unusual for them to treat her, But there was an air of excitement between them that made her suspicious. "Wear something you can take photos in, Mama," Destiny said, eyes dancing. They blindfolded her in the car, which elicited protest. What's all this drama?" Susan exclaimed, laughing. "Where exactly are you two kidnapping me to?" "Just wait and see," Destiny sang from the driver's seat. When they finally guided her out of the car and took off the blindfold, Susan blinked in the bright light. She found herself standing before a beautiful two-story house, complete with a well-tended garden bursting with hibiscus and roses, and a small fountain out front gently spraying water that glittered in the sun. The house had a welcoming feel, painted in a soft cream with a red roof and a wide veranda. Susan's breath caught. "Oh, this is lovely. Are we visiting someone?" David and Destiny exchanged a grin. David handed her a shiny new key. "Not visiting," he said. "This is your house, Mama. It's yours." For a moment, the words didn't register. Susan looked at the key in her hand, then at the house, then back at her children. "Mine? What do you mean mine? How?" "We bought it," Destiny squealed, unable to contain her excitement. "It's a gift to you. You have worked so hard all your life, Mama. You deserve to live somewhere comfortable, somewhere that is yours." Susan's jaw fell open. She nearly dropped the key. You what? No, this is too much now. This house," she looked at it again. It was clearly in an upscale area, Victoria Island, she let her land. "This must have cost a fortune. I can't accept." David gently put an arm around her. "You can, and you will, because you deserve it and we want you to have it. Please, Mama, let us do this for you." Destiny nodded, taking Susan's hand. "All those years you sacrificed for us, this is the least we can do. We want you to be happy and have peace. No more sweating in the crowded mainland. No more noisy neighbors unless you want them. This place is safe, quiet, and it's all yours. We have already handled the paperwork. See?" He pointed to an envelope David was holding. Indeed, inside were documents, titled deeds in Susan's name. Overcome with emotion, Susan began to sob. But these were not tears of sorrow. They were tears of joy and disbelief. She sank to her knees on the driveway, covering her face. "My God, is this really happening?" The twins knelt with her, each hugging her. "Thank you, Mama," they both said earnestly. She looked at them through tears. "What are you thanking me for? I should be the one thanking you. This is like a dream," she then added with a shaky laugh. "Oh, please, next time you surprise me, don't blindfold me like some old Nollywood movie villain, eh?" They all laughed, the tension breaking. A security guard emerged from the gatehouse, smiling at the reunion. He introduced himself as John. The twins had already hired him to watch the property. Inside, the house was even more beautiful. They had furnished it with a mix of modern and comfortable pieces. There was a plush sofa set in the living room, and on the wall hung large frame photographs, family pictures from over the years. One was that newspaper photo of the three of them at the scholarship ceremony. Another was from Destiny's graduation, and yet another from a recent Christmas. The tour of the house left Susan speechless. At every turn, a fully equipped kitchen. "I can finally use that oven I always wanted," she exclaimed. A master bedroom with an ensuite bathroom. "This tub is big enough to swim in. 2 guest rooms for when we visit, or maybe when you remarry," Destiny teased, making Susan swat her playfully. And best of all, a balcony that overlooked the Atlantic Ocean in the distance. Susan stood on that balcony, ocean breeze on her face, and felt a sense of fulfillment wash over her. She had not lived an easy life, but moments like this made every hardship worth it. That night, they christened the house with a small party. Ada traveled from Port Harcourt to join, and a few close friends and neighbors from the old community came to see Susan's new place and celebrate. There was jollof rice, pepper soup, fried plantain, and drinks. Laughter and music filled the home, giving it a warm first memory. Everyone wanted to hear the story of how the twins pulled off the surprise, and they gladly shared about house hunting and pooling their resources. Destiny has secretly invested some of her salary into David's company, so they both benefited from its success. Amid the celebration, Susan found a quiet moment to step aside and just observe. She watched David animatedly discussing something with Ada and her husband, and Destiny showing her sketchbook of new building designs to a friend. They were happy, confident, and surrounded by love. Susan whispered a prayer of thanks. She thought about the road that had led here, the sorrow of Vera's abandonment, the enormous challenges of single parenthood, the lean years, the doubts and fears, and yet, here they were, by God's grace and a lot of hard work, here they were. It felt like a fairy tale ending. Though life, of course, would continue with its ups and downs, but she allowed herself to bask in the triumph of that moment. Little did anyone know that soon fate would bring a figure from their past back into their lives and another emotion chapter would unfold.